Hello and welcome everyone. In the previous video, I gave you a demo of the WooCommerce theme, which is built in React in the front end, and in the back end we have WordPress with WooCommerce. And we've also seen that how fast the performance of this website is, and it also works offline, right? And in this video, I'm going to show you how to use this open source free theme for your own website. Okay, so let's begin. So we can go into the repository, which is Gatsby WooCommerce theme, and thanks to all of the beautiful people who have given star to my repositories. So if you haven't started already, please star my repository to support my work. And then all we have to do is just fork it. So let's click on fork. All right. Okay, so it's been forked. Now I'm just going to copy this and then clone it. So git clone, and this is going to clone the repository. And while it's doing that, we will head over to our WordPress website, and we're going to ensure that we go ahead and download all of these plugins. So you have the headless CMS, you have the WooCommerce, WordPress SEO, wp-gatsby, all of these plugins. We can go ahead and download them. So click on download and make sure we download all of this and activate it onto your WordPress dashboard. So I'm assuming that you already know how to add a new plugin and how to upload it, for example this one. So I'm going to skip that part because I'm assuming you already know that. Okay, so once you've installed all of these plugins, we can also set up the wp-graphql-jwt-authentication. So there is an information about how to set that up over here. So this plugin, as you can see, basically allows us to do authentication using the JWT, which is JSON Web Tokens, and there's a secret which stays on the server, which means that without this secret, the hacker cannot really crack your JWT, which is the authentication token. Okay, so what we're going to do is we will define this into our wp config. So we'll go on to the wp config, and then we will come over here and we'll paste it. And of course we need a token for that. It is recommended that you should use the WordPress API to generate the salt. So you can choose one of these salts. I'm going to go with this one, and then replace your secret token with this one and paste it here. Awesome, great. So you've got the JWT secret set up. Next up would be to set the header menu and the footer menu. So what you're going to do is, we'll come to our WordPress website, we'll go to menus, and we'll create a header menu. Click on create menu, set that to HCMS header menu, and then add as many pages as you want. For now I'll just add this one, save it, and then similarly I will create a footer menu. So I'll click on create menu and then name it as footer menu, and then make sure we select the HCMS footer menu. So this is the menu registered by the plugin, which is headless CMS, and then just add any pages we want over here and save it. Of course you can add more pages over here, but I'm just showing it to you that this is how you can do. Okay, so what's the next step? So we're going to create a home page, and we'll set the location to the home page. So we'll go to pages, add new. Okay, and then we create a home page, publish it, come back, and then go to customize, home page settings, and make sure we select the home over here. Publish it, that's it. Next up, you can set your site title, description, and logo from the WordPress customizer. So you can come in over here and you can set your site title, let's say Gatsby WooCommerce theme, and whatever tagline you want to give, you can select the icon over here to whichever you want. Okay, and then we need to set up the WooCommerce. So once the WooCommerce plugin is active, we need to ensure that we have our products. If you are just testing it, then you can go on to the tools import. So you can go to tools import, and then you have the WooCommerce importer, so you can run importer, and then you have option to choose the CSV files. So if you take a look, that your CSV files are actually in the WooCommerce plugin sample data. So if you want to just use it for testing purposes for sample data, you can go on to the plugins WooCommerce, here it is, and then sample data, and this is your product CSV, right? So you just need to import that one. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so inside of the WooCommerce I have sample data, and then I can select this one and just open it up and then continue, and I'm going to just run the importer. So this way the sample data for the WooCommerce will be imported. If you have your own data, you can use it. This is just for testing purposes. Okay, so you can see that all of the products are imported. This is what we have here, and I'm going to go ahead and next thing is for homepage carousel, which is what you see over here. This carousel is actually created using the category names and also the category images. So what you can do is you can go to categories and make sure that we go ahead and upload the images over here. Okay, so these are the images you need to upload. So for this one, so you can upload images, right? And make sure the images are of dimension 1900 by 600 for this beautiful look of the carousel, right? That's about it. That's all you have to do to set up your WordPress. Okay, now we'll go ahead and set up our Gatsby. So you can see that we've got this repository cloned, that we had cloned it, and then all I have to do is just take a look. The first thing we're going to do is create a file called .env inside of the site directory. So let's do that. I'm going to create a file called .env, and then it says that you need to add the following to the site directory, and take the example of nv.example, which is this, right? Same thing. So I'm going to copy the code from the nv example and paste it here. You need to put your WordPress site URL. So if you are testing it locally, then it will be your WordPress site URL, in this case localhost 8020 for my local setup. But because we're going to deploy it, it is important that we have a live WordPress URL, right? So I have already hosted my WordPress website. You can host it wherever you want to. You can host it on maybe DigitalOcean, or you can host it on HostGator, anywhere you want. It doesn't matter where your WordPress site is hosted, as long as you have the WordPress site URL to use. Okay, so in my case, I am using a subdirectory for WordPress. So this is my, you can think of this as my root URL for my WordPress website, and that's what I'm going to put, because I have already set up everything on my live site as well, like I've shown you on local. So I'm just going to use that URL here. Okay, then it asks you for your Gatsby site URL. So currently my Gatsby site URL is not deployed, so I'm just going to leave that in the same way. Okay, and then it asks for the Google Tag Manager ID. So if you have one, you can put that. It asks for the Facebook app ID for social sharing on Facebook. You can put that if you have one. Okay, let's go next. Alright, and then it talks about create a nv.development and nv.production into the sites directory, because we are going to be making some client-side requests when you do add to cart over here. So using the wp-graphql-jwt-authentication, we are going to make the client-side request for mutation, so that when you do add to cart, a session is maintained on the WordPress for WooCommerce, and the cart for that user is also maintained. Okay, so for that we just need to add our Gatsby WordPress site URL. So I've already done that for NV development and for NV production. So of course, if you are developing locally, this could very well be this localhost 8020 over here, something like this, you know, and for production it can be wherever your WordPress site is hosted. Okay, that's all you have to do. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to deploy it. So what I'll do is I'll deploy it on Vercel. If you don't have an account on Vercel, you can create one, sign up, continue with GitHub. I'm going to authorize Vercel. Alright, so I have verified my phone number. You can just put in your details here, and this is going to be free deployment. Okay, and I can import the repository from GitHub. So I'll click on continue, and then I'm going to enter the URL of my repository, which is this one right here, and I'm going to paste it. Continue. Okay, and I'm just going to say yes. I'll select my personal account. You can go with your preferences, and you can select if you want to have all the future repository or just the selected one with those permission. For now I'll go with the selected ones and select the repository, which is currently this one, and I'm going to install it. Okay, great, perfect. Let's continue. It's going to ask you for some of the information like the project name and stuff. So I put Gatsby WordPress themes. It asks which project is it, so I'm going to select Gatsby, and then it asks for the build output settings. So I have already mentioned that in the README as to what settings you need to put. So you can scroll down at the bottom where it explains what are the information you need to put. So in the build command you will put npm run build. So npm run build, and it says what will be the output directory. So my output directory when you run the build is going to be inside of the site, and there will be a public directory here once you run the build. Oops. So I'm going to put that. So it'll be site and then /public. Then it asks for the environment variables, so we're going to add the environment variables. So what are our environment variables? So I'll go to my environment variables. So I have WordPress site URL, which is this, and I'm going to add that. Then I have the Gatsby site URL. Let's also add Gatsby site URL, and for now let's just keep it to https localhost 3000. I know this is not going to be real, but we currently don't have our front-end site deployed. When it is deployed, then we'll change this, but this should be good for now. I'll just add that. And we're going to put other stuff like Google Tag Manager ID. So I'll leave it empty for now. Okay, and then we also need to put the Facebook app ID. So whatever your Facebook app ID is, you can put that information here. Okay, let's confirm if you've got everything right. So you've got all of the variable names. Also need to put Gatsby WordPress site URL. If you're wondering why do we have the WordPress site URL here and there's one in here as well, Gatsby WordPress site URL. So just to let you know that the one in the .env, this one is actually for the server-side access, and the NV development is actually for the client-side requests. Okay, so this will be a WordPress site URL. That's why you have the two environment variables, so don't get confused with that. That'll be the WordPress site URL wherever your WordPress is hosted. Okay, so if your WordPress is hosted on example.com, that's what it will be. Okay, awesome. So now that's about it. Okay, let's hit deploy. Okay, so it's cloning on Vercel. Alright, congratulations. So build is complete. We can click on the widget. There you go. Congratulations everyone. You've got your site deployed. And as you can see, this all works. Your pagination works. You can search it. Yeah. You can go to different pages. Awesome. Isn't that amazing? You've got your about page, featured, contact us, my account. All of that stuff working absolutely perfect. Great, nice. And you can do add to cart. You can see it's adding to cart. Add to cart here, and then I've got these cart information. I can fill in my details. I can fill in my name. I can also go on to the cart page, which is this. I can increase it. You can see it's now increased. Plus. You can see it's increased now. I can do proceed to checkout, right? I can also delete the products, so I can just click on this one and it gets deleted. There you go. I can clear the cart as well. Here you go, cleared. Add new products. I can go on a single page and I've got my images gallery. I can share it on Facebook, LinkedIn. I can click on this like so, and I can share it. Isn't that awesome? Perfect. Now if you want to see that on the local, make sure that you've got your environment variable set up. So make sure that Gatsby site URL in the .env set up to localhost for now, and of course you can now change it to this one if you want, like this one, and then your production, all of that is good. And then what we can do is we can do yarn install. So this is going to install all of the packages. I had already installed it, so which is fine. And then you can do npm run dev. This is going to ensure it will start up the development servers. You can test this locally as well. There you go. Now you can see that you've got your localhost 8000. This is for developers. So all of the information I gave you earlier was for basic user and developer, and this is specifically for developers. You can actually see your site over here, so you can see you've got your entire site there. You can test. You also have the graphical environment where you can test your GraphQL queries. So you can check what you actually have over here. The products. You can click on WP products, and then you can click on name, product ID, and you can select. You can do your queries over here basically. Okay, so more should be coming up in future videos where I'll explain to you more details, but just to let you know that you can change all of this. So currently, if I want to show you my live setup, here you go. So if you go to the customizer, appearance, customize, so this logo and this title, everything is coming in from the site identity. You can see that this is what I've uploaded, right? And then all of these menus is coming from my menus. So if you remember, I had shown you how to set up your own menu. So I just wanted to show you here that if you go to menus, you can see you've got about, you got trending, featured, contact us, my account, all of that stuff, and that's set to the header menu. And then you also have option to change or update the footer menu. So this is what I've set up in the footer menu, and if you scroll down, this is all footer menu that's coming in from. And if you're wondering how this gallery is coming from, so this is coming from the widgets. So if you go to widgets, you've got this gallery. So you can see this gallery, you can edit it, and the same will be reflected here once it's built. And you've got the other widgets for the footer as well, which is basically your custom HTML, so you've got your links that I have at this point, and then I've got my sidebar as well for the recent post and recent comments. Okay, so all of that information is present. And if you're wondering how these are coming, so this is also, you can also modify that. You can come in to the customize again, and if you go to social links, this is all done by the beautiful headless CMS plugin. You can add your social links over here, and the same will be reflected down at the bottom. Okay, awesome. These are all the categories, these are all the products that I have set up onto my WordPress website. So if you go and check, so these are all of the products that you see on the top. So you can see wallpaper, and that's coming in from here. That's for £19, and you can see all of the orders here. So I think people have been testing this website. These are all of these people have been testing. I've got like 25 orders so far, and whenever you place order, it's going to show in over here. The last one was at 15 hours ago for £37. Awesome, great. So I hope you did like the video. If you did, please give a thumbs up, and do subscribe to my channel if you aren't already, and do give star to my repository to support my work, and also follow me on GitHub. My GitHub handle is Imran Syed, and the Twitter handle is Codeytek. Alright, so I'm going to see you in the next video, and probably in future I'll be creating video for developers as to how to create this entire WooCommerce theme in React from scratch as well. And just to let you know, if you haven't watched the previous video, please go ahead and watch that. I've given a demo of how this application can also be used on the mobile as a mobile application as PWA, progressive web apps, and you can also use it offline as well. Alright, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.